website, and it goes through your journey to a job. And so I just wanted to recognize them because they've done a really good job. Thank you, guys. I also wanted to take an opportunity to thank our panelists today. We appreciate you guys being here, and I'm not going to do an introduction because we're going to start that with Samantha in a few minutes. But they have taken time from their busy schedules to be here, and we really appreciate you guys being here to share their practical knowledge with our students on how to prepare for a job interview. So we're happy to have you here today. A little housekeeping note, if you have your cell phone with you, if you would please take an opportunity now to put them on silent. The session today is being videotaped, and we prefer that it not have any interruptions in it. Thank you all. Dr. Wilson, we appreciate your support always. Other faculty members that are here. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to turn the program over to Samantha Bryce, who will serve as our moderator and our interviewer today. I'm hoping that you will be active listeners for those of you that have been in my communications class, and be prepared for a Q&A session and really put some good thought into some things that you might need some answers to. So welcome and thank you for being here today.
Good morning. Like Ms. Chuck has said, this is a part of a program that the business leadership team and I have created called Journey to the Job. The focus of today is revolving around preparing for a job interview. The first question I'm going to ask the panelists is for each of them to introduce themselves and where they work. And we'll start with Ms. Siders.
Hi, excuse me. I'm Janet Siders, and I am the Director of Human Resources, the lame duck Director of Human Resources here at Georgia Southwestern.
I'm Kevin Reeves. I'm the President of Parker's Heating and Air here in Americus.
I'm Jackie Bryce, and owner of Star Racing and the developer of the Americas Motorsports Complex.
Awesome. All right, so we're just going to start with the first question. What is the most common mistake you see being made by job seekers that keeps them from getting their desired jobs? Ms. Siders?
The thing that bothers me the most is not giving a job-related reason for why you're seeking that job. I interview all the time, and one of the things I hate is when I ask them, why are you applying for a job at Georgia Southwestern? I have family in Florida, I have family in Georgia, I want to play tennis year-round. There's nothing to do with why that person wants to work here, and frankly, I discount that person as soon as they say that.
Ms. Reeves?
Yep. Very similar to what Janet said, not really knowing what you want. That's one of the first questions I ask an applicant when I'm interviewing is, do you see yourself making this a career? And a lot of times I get that stare look back at the face, almost like, what's a career? And that's what we don't want a short-time employee. We want somebody that's going to be there long-term. Our business has been built over the years, keeping people happy at what they're doing and working there for a long time. We don't want somebody to come work 1 or 2 or 3 years, and that's about the average for your generation. You get on a job, it's about 3 years, and then you get bored and you want to find something else to do. You're just looking for a job, not a career. So it's important to make sure you know what career path you want.
I guess I'm the cleanup person on the end because they're already saying all the same things, but I think it's important to know a little bit about the company that you're going to interview with. Research them, find out what kinds of things they do, and see if it's a fit, because my whole philosophy, my whole life is if you're not doing something that you enjoy, it is going to be a job, and you have to enjoy your career, as Kevin called it. Don't look at it as a job. It is a career, and you need to enjoy doing it.
Awesome. Okay, so then where do you look for your applicants? We'll start down here.
Okay, I don't have to be a cleanup person. I think, you guys are the, technology generation. You look on the internet, you've got a phone in your pocket that you can go and look at anything. But I'm going to tell you what, in our business, word of mouth is an awesome thing, and I know that y'all are lacking on a lot of communication skills in your generation because you don't really talk verbally as much as you should. But tell as many people as you can. You never know who is going to be looking for somebody. Our best employees have come on a friend telling them we're looking for somebody. So do not discount just spreading the word and telling people what you're looking for.
In our line of work, it really depends on the job. Of course, we have installers, we have technicians, and then we have salesmen and office staff. So it really depends on the job. Like Jackie said, word of mouth. We live in a small community, and so when we're looking for an individual, we can make a list pretty quick of who we're targeting and then seeing if they're interested. We don't use monster.com, things like that. We don't really look for that because you get flooded with too many applicants and you can't get through it. Word of mouth, we do ask our employees. What we found is our employees are real hesitant to recommend anybody because they don't want to recommend somebody that comes in and they're a bomb, for lack of a better word. You know, they don't work out. So they're very hesitant to do that. A lot of times we look at the technical college for some of our installers. They do a good job of getting them prepared and have the skills to go to work in the field. As far as like office staff, it's usually word of mouth. So get that experience that you can through internships or summer jobs that you can list on your resume that'll help you stand out to have some experience. And at the same time, let people know what you're looking to do. Let them know in this community, because Americus is a small community. You put the word of mouth out there. That's how I got my first job. It wasn't because of my resume looked good. It was because of who you know and what you know.
That's the same with me. I got this job. I had a relationship with Dr. Haynes and Dr. Wilson for years before I came here. And so when this job became available,
Don't blame me.
I had an in that most of the other candidates didn't have. Just about every industry has an organization. If you're in HR, it's SHRM. If you want to work in an environment with colleges and universities, it's Cooper. So whatever industry you're interested in, find out if they've got some sort of an organization where you can network with the people who are already in that industry and already doing those kinds of jobs.
All right. So what kind of things should students do, like while in school, to make you look twice at their application?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, you just
Yeah.
Okay. Get involved. That's probably the most important thing. And I want to brag on my intern, who was just elected to SGA. He was also elected to the president of the pre-law organization, and he was selected for the USG has a leadership summit every year. It's free to the students. They go up to North Georgia College and they interact with other students and faculty and staff. It's a great opportunity. Get involved, because all this stuff goes on your resume. I'm amazed at the number of students who did not want to get onto this leadership thing. We had to practically beg people to do it. It's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, involvement. As Janet said, involvement in extracurricular activities, whether it be campus activities, whether it be like fraternities, sororities, or on-campus groups. Getting involved in being a leader. That's what business owners are looking for. People that have those leadership skills. If you can learn a lot from books, but it doesn't teach you how to deal with people. And that's the most important thing, learning how to deal with people, learning how to talk to people, and learning how to lead people. That's what we want to see, are those leaders, because those are going to be your best employees, or the ones that have already proven that they can lead a group, whether it be a small or large group. But get involved and show that you're a leader. Internships, that's something that we try to provide. We've had several interns come in and help us with some marketing items, some HR items. If you can get an internship, do that. It gives you some real world experience. Everyone we've had said how much fun they had doing it, which means a lot to me, because I want to make where we work a fun place to work. So it's not only working, it can be fun too. So try to get involved and get that internship, because the real world experience is what employers are looking for.
I'm on the same page with both Janet and Kevin. We want to look down the list. We have a unique type of business, but generally speaking, in all types of businesses, people are looking for people that like to be involved, that want to get involved with other groups and other people and have that hands-on experience. Internships are offered, and they are great. I mean, there is nothing to replace that hands-on doing the job that you're looking to do experience. So if you get any opportunity to do that, I would take it if I were y'all. I mean, it's when I look at a resume and I see that they've been involved and participated on a lot of things, that to me shows that they have the desire to move forward.
Can I just say
Go for
one
it.
thing about that? I like to think about my daughter, Erin. Erin majored in history in college, but every summer, every break, she worked at CVS as a farm tech. When she graduated from college, her first job was with Prudential Pharmacy. Her second job was with Medco, and she's currently working for Express Scripts. Now, Erin's not a pharmacy. She's the only one in her department who doesn't have a pharm degree. But when they saw the CVS every single year for 4 years, that's what got her all 3 of those jobs. So think about what you're majoring in, but also think about what you like to do. And if there's a connect between the two, that's great.
Okay, so along with the internships and experience, what else do you look for in your applicants?
You want to start with me?
Go for it.
I think when a person, are we talking about when they come in?
Sure.
Okay. I know there's a whole thing y'all learned about attire and how you're supposed to dress. I'm telling you, there is nothing. You get one time to make a first impression. And everybody, any part, not even just going to a job, but you always need to think about that. I already have a first impression of all of you guys. I've only seen you one time. I do know a couple of y'all, but this situation, my impression of you was the first time I saw you. When you go into a job, you can't help it. I mean, that's just human nature. When a person comes in, click. That's what you kind of photograph in your mind. Be prepared for the job interview. Know about the company. Know what position generally you're looking for. You would not believe how many people we have come in. I'm looking for a job. What kind of job? I don't know. I just need to work. I mean, you got to be a little bit knowing what you're actually looking for. So being prepared, and remember, you don't remember anything else I said today, first impression on everything that you do.
Yeah, first impressions are made in 0.2 seconds, less than a second. It's very important, your appearance. I'm not going to rehash what Jackie said because it's all right. Punctuality, being on time, is something that is huge, and I see so many people show up a minute, 2 minutes late for the interview. You want to be there 10 minutes early, and be waiting for that person to come out and see you. Ask questions. That's the one thing that I always try to get out of an applicant, is getting them to ask me questions about our company to see how much, one, they know about it, doing research about it, but two, do they have any idea what they want to do? And so I always say, you got any questions for me? And the ones that say, nope, I don't have anything, I mean, they're kind of marked off the list. You need to ask a lot of questions. Eye contact. Look people in the eyes. That's probably the biggest mistake I see people make. I'm looking at the top of their head, when I'm interviewing them. And we want to see your eyes. We want you to make eye contact with us. Jackie hit on it a little earlier about verbal communication skills, being able to talk to people. I have an 11-year-old and 8-year-old children. I'm worried that they're not going to be able to communicate with people because all they do is this. And I'm making sure they can still talk to people versus text and sending emails. Attention to details and any experience that you may have just working in any job is really what I look for. But the main thing is that question. Be prepared to ask questions of who is interviewing you. That will impress them.
For me, the worst thing an applicant could do is to come into an interview and ask for a pen. I've had that happen on a number of occasions. It tells me a lot about that person. They're not prepared. They're certainly not prepared to ask any questions, because if you're going to ask questions, you're going to want to really write them down. If you don't have a pen, that also means you don't have a pencil, a piece of paper, or an iPad, or an iPhone, or anything to write down what you're hearing. So come in prepared for that interview. I look for people to be poised, to have confidence. I know it's very difficult. I can think of, I don't know how many interviews I've been on. The more you do, the better you do them. Reality check your resume. Have somebody else look at the resume and say, does this make sense? I've gotten so many resumes where I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I don't even understand what this person is doing or when they did it. Are they still working? Did they quit? Were they fired? What the heck happened with this person? Make sure your resume makes sense because we're going to ask you about it. And if there's something in there that's crazy, we're going to ask you to explain why you've got crazy things in your resume. So make sure you reality check it. Know yourself and sell it. This is no different from buying a car. You're going to go in there and there's going to be a whole bunch of people trying to sell a car. You need to be the one who has enough information about yourself that you can sell it. Because I'm buying. I'm buying from whoever's got the best spiel, the best confidence, the best poise, the best skills, writing, listening, communicating, all of that's important.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Attention to detail. Our applications, we make a point to having them handwritten, and real quick, some of them get thrown away when you can't understand what's written. So pay attention to that detail and take your time. Don't get your girlfriend or your mom to fill it out if you're a guy, because we can tell when that happens. I mean, you'd be surprised how many times that happens. We try not to let the application leave the office. We try to have them fill it out while they're there. But there's all kind of questions on there. We've got one, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Check yes or no. I can't tell you how many hundreds of times it's checked yes and nothing's put down. I think they did it on accident because they weren't paying attention to it. But that's one of the first things I look at. And if they don't answer the question, they're not paying attention to the details. So.
Or if they lie.
Right.
Because I don't know about you guys. We do background
Absolutely.
checks, criminal background checks for everybody, including some of our student workers who work in jobs where they have to have access to money or other students.
Absolutely.
So, and we are very firm. You cannot work for the state of Georgia if you have a felony conviction. So we do background checks. We do drug screens on many of our positions. I'm sure you probably do them too. So don't come into an interview without realizing there's a good possibility we're going to send you out to get a drug screen, and we're going to definitely do a background check on you. And anything goes. That's what all the employers are doing these days.
All right. Have you ever used social media to view an applicant? And what tips do you have for us students that use social media?
I haven't used one. I've used one in a circumstance where I kind of knew something about the individual, and I wanted a reason not to have to hire them. Because here's the thing, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. A good interviewer is never going to show you whether you're in the favored position or not. So things are going on, things that we need to know about somebody, and I have Googled people several times and found interesting things about that person. So let me give you some advice about Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and all the rest of it. That stuff lives with you forever. And if you've done anything in your history that you wouldn't need to be ashamed of, guaranteed an employer is going to find it.
I'm so thankful Facebook and Twitter and all that didn't exist when I
Well,
was
I'm telling
your
you.
guys and girls' ages, because it's out there. Who remembers MySpace?
Yeah.
When MySpace came out, I just gotten to a point where I was actually interviewing people, and I would go on there and check people out. It's so much easier. Facebook, yes, absolutely. I interview somebody, first thing I do when they walk out, I go see if I can pull up their Facebook page. I mean, I'm just being honest, and it's out there. Be careful what information you put online. This is getting into the next question, but our company has a social media policy we implemented about 2 years ago, because we have to be careful what our employees are posting on Facebook and Twitter and things like that to make sure they're not representing the company. So yes, we have a policy against it. We don't control it, but we do have a policy against it. So if they do anything, they're breaking company policy. Be careful. This is kind of digging a little deeper, but be careful what voicemail message you have on your cell phone. If you're looking for a job and you list your cell phone as the number to contact you, do not have a voicemail message that is unprofessional. Do not have a song on that. There was one, this is a true story. One guy applied for a job. We looked over his resume. or application, was calling him back, and he had a song on there that was talking about I don't want to work. I mean, I'm dead serious. Don't want to work. I'd listened to it, and I went click and hung it up. He may have been a great employee, but that was my impression I got when I called him. Hey, this guy doesn't want to work. But be professional with that voicemail message. If you are applying for a job, it may be funny to your friends. It's not going to be funny to a future employer. So make sure you're professional in all of that.
Frankly, I don't want to listen to somebody else's favorite tunes.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. If it's personal, that's one thing. But my time is very valuable to me, as are the rest of this panel. Nobody has time to be listening to crazy voicemail messages and songs and other stuff. If you're looking for a job, clear all that stuff off. Make sure that everything, any way that we can contact you is professional.
Including your email address?
Yes.
Including your email. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Email address, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Not
good point.
hotmama at Gmail. Not interested.
Like I said before, you guys live in a whole different new world that is still being figured out on, once something is on the internet, it's on there forever. It really and truly is. I mean, you can we shut down an online store 5 years ago and people still try to order from that store. And it's not even active. They just find it. So I'm telling you, it's out there. Our business is a little bit different, but again, speaking generally, we do use Facebook. We Facebook stalk everybody. I don't care who they are, where they're from. I mean, we have a huge Facebook following that we have, but we also make sure that, we check out everybody that comes and talks to us. The other thing that people in your age group don't realize is you're putting yourself out there for everybody to see all over the world. It's not just your friends. It's not just your family. It's the whole world. People call us and, I was checking out Facebook and I saw where you're selling so-and-so something. They're calling from Australia. They're calling from somewhere in Europe. Even though a lot of your stuff is marked private, if people like it or they share it or it goes, it's this huge effect that can happen. So please don't look at your own little bubble. It's the whole world that's seeing your stuff. If you want them to see it, great. Brandon did a great job with his Facebook page because people are all over. He's gotten known everywhere from his Facebook page. If you want to use it that way, it's great because that's how we use it for Star Racing. But if you are partying, if you are doing things that are not very conducive to having a good job, then you do not need to put it on your Facebook page. Pictures. Y'all are growing up now. You're getting ready to be out there and have to support yourselves, have to support your families, and you really right now, if you are doing that now, change it. You have got to grow up and start thinking about your future because that's what you're going to college for, is a career and your future. So please keep all that in mind.
So you're saying that how much somebody can drink, and they're showing that on Facebook, it's not in Facebook?
That is not good at all.
No.
Even
not
in our, we're a racing company. Y'all, I don't know if y'all really know exactly who we are, but we go all over the United States and all over the world racing motorcycles. And you would think, they'll let you do anything. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's it is something that's fun and we travel and we do everything, but we can't have that image because, the company's image is reflected by their employees. So I don't know how to tell you to keep it private because text messages can end up on Facebook and they can get spread like wildfire. I don't know whether any of y'all have ever experienced that, but even be careful what you text to people because it can be spread. You're living in a different world and you need to really, really be aware of that. So
what I've noticed, I love watching the shows, the judge shows, and there's a bunch of judge shows on TV, and invariably somebody will say, I have proof that he did that, or he said that, or she went there, because they texted it, and I printed it out.
yeah.
And the judge will always accept that as 100% proof positive that this person is telling the truth. So you text somebody, and they text you back, I've seen sexual harassment cases where the person texts something to somebody else to get them to do something or say something, and then use it against that person. Don't text anything that you don't want to show up on the front page of the New York Times.
Exactly.
I Google myself periodically because I'm always on blogs, I'm always expressing my opinion. And I like to know what's out there. What I've said won't come back and bite me in the butt somewhere down the line.
Jackie brings up a good point. Your image is your Facebook page right now to employers. So think of it that way. The image that you're promoting is your personal Facebook page or your Twitter feed. Or what are the other ones? I know Tumblr. Yeah. So look at it that way.
LinkedIn,
Go back and look at
Waxo.
your page and say, is this the image I want to portray to future employers? And look about changing it. It's tough to delete a Facebook account. I don't know if any of you have tried to do it. It's almost impossible. But they make the steps so tedious. My brother did it. He got rid of it. It took him over a year to get rid of his Facebook account. His employer made him do that. They make all their employees get rid of it. So.
And then other areas, I have a niece who's a principal of a school, and the employees at that school are not allowed to have Facebook accounts, period. Not personal ones, not professional ones, for that very reason, because they never know when something like that can come back to haunt you or haunt the school.
One of our last question is, what is a good way for a new or young employee to figure out the boss's mode of communication? Like when I was talking to Dr. Wilson, she really likes email because it's in writing, but whereas Ms. Chokas, she really prefers face-to-face. That way we're all on the same page. So how do we figure out what our employee wants as communication?
I'd say ask.
Absolutely.
How do you want me to address you? First of all, do you want me to call you by your first name? Do you want me to call you Ms. or Miss? I had 2 staff members. One refused to call me anything but Miss Siders. The other one, and that's for over 8 years, the other one calls me Janet. So how do you want me to address you? How do you want me to communicate with you? Is email okay? Is voicemail okay? We have people on this campus who don't have voicemail because they don't want to have voicemail.
Yeah, simple. Ask them. You know, what do you prefer? The world is changing. I mean, when I started working at Parker's, we were using walkie-talkies to communicate with service technicians. That's all changed now. It does change, but you just need to ask them which way they prefer. I'm kind of like Dr. Wilson. I kind of like things in writing. I like to have it. When I send an email to somebody, I always copy myself to make sure it's going through, and I've got a copy of it as well. So it all depends on the person, but documentation is the key. In my business, we want to have everything documented, so it's important to have it in writing.
I concur with Kevin and Janet both, but it is important to ask. And the only thing I can see y'all, I mean, I'm watching everybody's face, and I'm thinking, how are y'all going to communicate with the person when you go do the interview? Because y'all are so technically oriented, and I cannot tell you more how important it is to sit down with people sometimes and talk and ask questions and communicate with each other so you know how to look at people and how to act, you know, and questions to ask. But when you go to do that face-to-face interview, you're going to find out a lot about yourself, and you're going to find out what you need to improve for the next time. So if the first one doesn't go exactly right, you know, learn from that and move on to the next one, and you'll experience of doing an interview is a whole nother thing. I mean, like Janet said, you know, the more you do, the better you'll be at it. Do y'all do mock interviews? Maybe that would be something that would be good, you know, pretend like you're an employer and the other person's the one coming in for the interview. But you just have to practice on it. But I think that documentation is always good. I'm busy. I don't always have time to come to the phone. Emails are probably, I mean, that's your generation too, but I think so that emails would probably be the best.
You bring up a great point about before you go looking for that real job, go interview for some jobs that may not, you know, maybe you don't want, just so you get that experience. I mean, go to Lowe's and fill out an application and sit down with them and, you know, do an interview. Getting that experience is going to make you so much more relaxed when you get to that real interview, because your first one, I'm just telling you, it's nerve-wracking. I don't think I heard a word that person was really saying to me. I was so nervous, my palms were sweating. But you also have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Do a lot of listening when you're getting interviewed. You got to answer the questions, but be sure to listen. And talking about communicating, communicate with older generations. Sit down with your parents and your grandparents and cut the TV off and just talk to them for an hour. That'll help your communication skills. That's something that's easy to do, kind of laid back environment, but it can help you with your communication skills.
And you also need to learn how to read people. You don't get to do that when you're emailing or texting or even talking on the phone. But when you're in an interview situation, if you say something and the person has a strange look on their face, you need to be able to understand what that means. If what they're saying is, if they're looking encouraged, that means they want you to elaborate. If they're looking at you and they're frowning, or they're looking at you and they're puzzled, those are cues that you don't learn how to read when you're doing things on using technology. So talking to people face to face, learning how to read those cues, learning how to respond to people is critical.
One other thing I want to point out too is body language. If somebody comes into an interview and they sit like this, what does that mean? Have you ever had that, Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
Right. I mean, does that look like they want a job? If you come in, you sit up straight in the chair and you're very attentive, you look at the person, you're not like this. I mean, I've actually had people do that. Think about not just the first impression, but your whole body language while you're doing the interview is so important. And please don't ever put your leg up in the chair. I mean, I've actually, they sit down and they like sit on their feet
Crisscross
and
applesauce.
crisp out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very important for y'all to practice that and learn that, because I know it's casual environment a lot of times that y'all are in, but when you're talking about your career and your life for however many years you're going to be working, that's what image you need to put out there for the person that you're going to want to work for, and show them, other than attire, the body language is huge.
And body art.
Yeah.
Ink.
Body art.
Nose rings, tongue rings, rings in your eyebrows are all fine when you're in college. But I tell you what, I don't care how qualified you are for a job. As Jackie said, first impressions are critical. If you come into an interview and you've got your eyebrow lined with studs, sorry, but that employer is going to make a judgment about you that may not necessarily be correct. But they're only looking at what they see. I've talked to students who have a lot of body ink, and what they do is they only put it on part of their bodies that can't be visible if they have on dress clothes. So it's not on their arms, it's not on their necks, it's not on their faces. Now that may seem weird to you, but I saw a young lady last week and she was all dressed up, maybe going to an interview, and she had a tattoo that went from her ankle to her knee, and she had on a dress and hose. If you're going to be doing that, then you got to wear slacks. Unless you're getting a job in a field that's creative, where they accept those kinds of things, that's one thing. But if you're working in corporate America, they haven't gotten to the point yet, or not just corporate America, the public sector, like Georgia Southwestern, we haven't gotten there yet where it's okay to have a big flower tattooed on the side of your face.
Well, and it's part of that image, I know heating and air companies, we're not like this, but there's heating and air companies that won't hire people that have facial hair or tattoos, or if they smoke, because we're in people's homes every day. And to a non-smoker, if a smoker walks into that home reeking of cigarette smoke, it's offensive. And so instead of calling us next time, they call somebody else. It's kind of like you were saying, if they come in with, studs in their ear and in their eyebrow and, tat it all up, they're out the door. We have people that have tattoos. Some are more visible than others. We have employees that smoke too. But there are companies out there, their image is so clean that if you have a tattoo or you smoke or you got facial hair, you're not hired by them. And they have that choice. That's not discrimination. They have that choice because of their company image that they're trying to portray. So, very good point.
BB doesn't hire people who smoke.
Yeah.
You can't work at BB. I don't mean just smoke like at work. I mean smoke, period. They test you, and they have an honor system. If you and I work at Phoebe, and I know you're a smoker, and I don't go back and report it to Human Resources, that's on me. So, and a lot of companies are moving that way, not because they particularly care about whether you smoke or not, because they probably don't. It's because how much money it costs to treat somebody who's got cancer or emphysema or any other disease that's brought on by smoking. So be aware of that. Know the place, if you're applying for a job, know their policies, know their culture.
And a lot of, you have to know where you want to go. I mean, obviously, I hope by now y'all are in college and you kind of have a little bit of an idea. A lot of those things are okay at some places, but right now is your chance to say, my friend wants to go get a tattoo, and we're going to go, that might not be such a great idea. Or put it in a place that is covered up, like Janet said. I mean, in the motorcycle world, that's fine. But in other places, it's not. So that's a big decision. That's a lifelong decision, too, that we were talking about, that you make on that, too. So be aware of all those things before it's too late, and be thinking about way ahead in the future. I know y'all want to think about right now and what's happening right now, but we're talking about the rest of your life.
All right, so we're going to open the floor now for any questions that you guys want to hear them answer. Go ahead.
And make sure that you speak loud enough that we can capture the question, okay?
Thank you, Sammy. Do you guys have any advice for phone interviews?
We do phone screens of every person we're contemplating bringing on campus. Be prepared. I always tell people, get dressed up, not a suit, but don't do a phone screen in pajamas, because you have a different mindset when you're not dressed appropriately. They can't see you, but you know how you feel when you're in your pajamas versus how you feel if you're in a skirt and blouse. Be prepared.
We don't conduct many phone interviews. I'll go back to what I was saying about kind of the voicemail message. Be professional the way you answer the phone. I know a lot of times people will look at the number, and if they don't recognize it, they let it go to voicemail to see who it is first. But answer the phone. I mean, if you're looking for a job and you see a number you don't recognize, answer the phone. That could be your future employer calling you. But I can't speak much to that. We don't do many phone interviews. We like to get face-to-face.
In our business, we do have a lot of phone interaction with customers, so it's important for us on how someone sounds on the phone. So always make sure that, your voice is the voice that you're going to use when you're talking on the phone in a job. And it's very important like in our business, to sound friendly. I know this sounds kind of weird, but we tell people to smile when they answer the phone, because if you're smiling, even though people aren't seeing your smile, you speak differently. So just be in a good mood and be happy, and have a good presentation when you do a phone interview.
If I could add one thing, I can tell if you're smoking when I'm on the phone with you. When I can hear it.
Yep.
I can hear your dog barking in the back. I can hear your TV on.
Baby
I can
crying.
hear your glass, clinking when you've got ice cubes in it. So if you know you're getting ready to be in a job interview, go into a room where there's not going to be a whole bunch of background noise and do a job interview. Not let me pause the TV or whatever I'm doing and just say, yeah, what's up?
Yeah. And no distractions, like Ms. Wilson said. Yeah.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about rejected applicants contacting you to get feedback on their interviews?
I don't do it for a number of reasons. Most employers won't. It's unfortunate, because sometimes what you need to know is what's going to help you in the next interview, but it causes a lot of legal issues if I sit there and I tell you, well, if you had done this or you had done that, if you had gone here, it would have made a difference. So I don't know too many employers who will have that conversation with
Yeah, don't you think that kind of underscores the importance of doing mock interviews and getting that kind of feedback from somebody else?
Definitely. We've had people who, I get the calls because I tell the interviewers not to respond to those, so I get the calls. And there are times when someone has called and said, well, I was the best candidate, I don't know why I didn't get the job. And I tell them the same thing I always tell them, I'm sorry, but a person that we felt was a better fit was hired. But then I go back and I check why the person didn't get a job. Sometimes it's because the person was late to the interview, they had a bad attitude, they didn't dress appropriately. So those are things you should know beforehand. Most of the time, it's not anything that you did that causes them not to want to hire you.
It's a valid point. People that don't get the job the first time that do follow up, they get a little mark on their application by me for future opportunities. Because we have had people we've interviewed before, hired somebody else, that person either promoted to a different department or moved on, and then we call them back. And depending on how they handle that and their attitude will determine maybe if there's an opportunity in the future. So it is important to follow up. One of the notes I had is be persistent when you interview with somebody. If I'm interviewing for a sales type job, after the interview's done, I purposely do not call that person back to see how aggressive they are. So I learned it the hard way. When I was interviewing for a sales job, before I had a job, they did the same thing to me, and I said, man, why didn't I get a call back? They said, well, why didn't you call me? And I went, good,
But there's
good.
a balance there.
Yeah,
There's a balance,
there is a
yes.
balance, but
Between being aggressive and stalking.
right. My word I use is be persistent.
Yes.
Be persistent at it, but at the same time, don't wait on them to call you back. See, I was sitting there going, oh, it's been 2 weeks. I wonder if they're going to call me, when I should have been the one a week later following up with them to see, if they had made a decision. So very important points there to be persistent.
And it's still a good idea to send a note after the interview.
Absolutely.
You can send it via email. Nowadays, people are doing that. But saying, thank you for the interview, for the opportunity to apply for the position. If there's anything else you need to know about me, I'd be happy to ask. Could you let me know when you think you're going to be making a decision? All that's fine.
I'll tell y'all what a congressman told me. Emails are good. Handwritten notes are so much better because you took the time to write it. And then a phone call. I mean, if you call a congressman once, they may not do anything. But if you call them 2 or 3 times, they're going to be listening to what you're saying. You could send them, he said, you send me 400 emails. It doesn't do anything. So those handwritten notes mean a lot. And I get more comments when I write a little handwritten thank you note to people. I feel like I get a lot more out of it than an email. Emails are great, don't get me wrong. But taking the time to do it by hand writing the address on it, gives it a little personal touch.
Yeah. I always tell people, try back another time. Like Kevin said, another position may open up. It doesn't mean that we didn't like them or we didn't want them. That position just wasn't available. So call back or ask for another interview and make sure that they know I'm coming back or whatever. And then the other thing, always ask at the end of your interview, do you want me to call you back? Are you going to call me? Do I expect a follow-up? I mean, don't just leave not even knowing what to expect. You always have to ask those questions. It's really important to ask questions.
Go ahead.
My question for Mr. Reeves, what's exactly in your social media policy?
Well, really what it is it's our employees cannot post anything derogatory towards our customers, about the company. We can't control it. I mean, they can go in there, we can terminate somebody, and they can go, talk bad about us however they want to. We monitor it. I watch our Facebook page like you wouldn't believe. We don't delete any customer post or anything like that. Luckily, we don't have many negative comments, but one of the most important things is to address that immediately. We have had some negative posts on there. We address it, we correct it, and then we ask that customer to go back and talk about, how they addressed our issue. Very few times that's happened, but as far as our policy goes, you can't say anything derogatory about the company, about any of our clients that we have. And our guys do a good job of it. Most of our employees have been with us over 10, 15 years, so they get it, for lack of a better term. But some of the newer employees, we have to go over it with them so they don't get home from work and say, oh, that attic was hot today I was in. I mean, because that's where we work. That crawl space was dirty I was in. And they're talking about somebody's home. I mean, you don't want them going online talking about how nasty that home was I was in today, and it's Jackie's house. And then all of a sudden, Jackie's mad at me. I mean, it's things like that. It's things like that we had to protect ourselves from. And our industry as a whole, we pull from each other. And so I've kind of, my term of R&D It's called repeat and duplicate. So I've had some other companies in some major metro areas. We've kind of repeated and duplicated their social media policy to apply it to us.
Well, if I can get you guys to help me thank our panelists for answering and educating our questions today, that'll conclude our session.